The first round, we have Higuruma versus Angel. Let me actually get the votes. Let me get the vote bot up. Let me get the vote bot up, actually. Should I throw the vote bot up? I'm only throw the vote bot up when it really comes down to it. When we really need to discuss who is better. But like matchups like these, it's like, okay, bro. Like we got one of the goats of the season versus like she damn near showed up more in the opening than she did in the actual season, now that I'm thinking about it, bro. Like Angel was one of those characters I had to throw in here because I had to fill out all 32 slots. But yeah, we're def giving this to Higuruma, bro. In terms of full performance throughout the whole season, yeah, she saved Megumi's life, but like, come on, bro. That was one 13-second scene, bro. No one's taking that serious, bro. Give that to big Higuruma. Okay, we got Hakari, the super duper senior, versus Kogane, the pop-up ad. So, first of all, thank you for the gifted, Bobiba. Thank you for the gifted. Shout out, who got it? Down? No way y'all, whoa. No way y'all is trying to say Kogane got that over Hakari, bruh. Nah, I'm not gonna, wouldn't have the game without give me one memorable Kogane moment, bro. You gotta be trolling. Bro. You said season 3. This is a vote for who had the more memorable impact on the season, bro. Hakari yeeting that bottle at Yuji? Come on, he did more fire than Kogane ever popped up with. What did Kogane do? Turn to a phone? Like, I'm sure Hakari has better moments in the next season. But you're not going to tell me ding dong is more fire than him throwing the bottle. No, I'm not talking about narrative impact as much, okay? I'm not talking about narrative impact. I'm talking more like broadly. Who had more impact on the season? When you think back on JJK season 3 in 10 years, who is more likely to come to your head as, oh yeah, I remember that season with this character in it? Niggas was in here saying Kogane had my heart beating, bro. I got scared for niggas. But yeah, I would 100% agree that the super duper senior over here beats Kogane. If you're in the YouTube stream, slide on over to the Twitch, by the way, so that you can vote. Ooh, okay, we gonna have to open dialogues early. We gonna have, that's a horrible match. Hold on. No, but I'm gonna have to open the dialogue here. This is gonna get a lot of people's feelings hurt. We gotta open the dialogue for this one. We gotta go full screen for this one. Hey, if you're enjoying this video, you should consider checking out my Patreon, where I have my full unedited reactions for videos like this one. I'm also offering seasonals that we don't cover on the channel and Patreon exclusive content. So if you want more content or just a way to support the channel, check it out. 1 for Yuta, 2 for Megumi. This is interesting. All right, so look, let's start off talking about JJK Jesus. Let's start off yapping about JJK Jesus, all right? Big role on the season. Undeniably impactful in the season. I mean, if we're talking about individual episodes that'll go down in like collective memory, of JJK season 3, the last episode 12, was it 12 or 13? Episode 12 was, you know, maybe the season 3 episode. Maybe. I don't know. He also did have a strong impact in episode 1. I forgot about that. Okay, we really got to open the dialogue here. So far, y'all are largely in favor of Yuta. So let's see. He had the fight with Yuji. That was pretty big. He had the fight with Yuji. He snuck in on the fight with Choso. I don't know if I'll really give him that. I will give him impact points for that though. I will give him impact points for that. He did have the fight with Choso. And then he had the fight at the end. We look at Megumi on the other hand. Megumi was a lot more present in the season, right? He was there basically in every episode after episode 2 or 3. Right? First he had first he was there squabbling Kirara. Then he had the Reggie fight that spanned 2 or 3 episodes. He had his big moment, cracking open his domain, sneaking Reggie with demon dogs. I mean, really, I feel like narratively, I think someone counted Megumi was in 10 episodes out of 12. And yeah, that's kind of one of the directions I'm thinking about this, right? I feel like narratively, JJK Culling Games Part 1 was damn near like a Megumi story, right? Like we got a much more of his inner dialogue than we usually get. But we don't, when I say we don't count narrative, I mean in canon. So like Kogane had more presence on the canon, had more impact on the canon than Hakari so far. But when I'm speaking about narratively now, I'm speaking like meta, like third person, looking at the series. Honestly, Yuji might have gave up without Megumi giving him that speech near the campfire. That too. Megumi had a lot of big moments. Let's see where y'all are at with it. All right, y'all are still heavily in favor of Yuta. Here's what I'm gonna say. And then we're gonna move on to the next. We're gonna move on to the next round. Only power scaling matter. Who said that? That boy making up rules. Here's what I'm gonna say about this one, okay? This was, from what I hear, from what I know, I don't know what happens in Culling Games Part 2, but I know what happens in, past that moving forward, right? But assuming Megumi is down for the count, this is probably Megumi's biggest season. However, one could say this season had the potential to be Megumi's MVP season. However, if I'm being honest, in 10, 20 years, if I have a child and that child goes, Daddy, what was JJK the Culling Games Part 1? I'm gonna go, I'm gonna have a flashback, right? And I'm thinking about that last episode with Yuta before I think about Megumi versus Reggie. And that's just how it is. I don't even blame like Megumi's actions for him. Are we talking overall? We're basically talking overall. I don't even blame Megumi's actions for what I'm about to do. But if I'm keeping it a full and honest stack, right? This one's hard. I wish I could this matchup was supposed to happen later, bro. This is matchup number 3. Last episode was just too monumental. I think that's what it comes down to, really. There's nothing I can think about. I'm like digging through my mind, right? Looking for moments that I can point at and say, this stuck with me, like Yuta's performance in the last episode. And I just can't find it. I can't find it. It's like Megumi had every opportunity to, and low key, right? It does come down to the fact that Yuta had more interesting matchups, right? You know, he fought cooler people. He fought more memorable people than Reggie. But it's like, you know, there's only so many Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu holds I could see Megumi put an NPC into before I'm like, all right, bro, is this all we get in this season? And so it's like, I feel bad, right? Because Yuta is like, I mean, I named him JJK Jesus for a reason, bro. This show itself glazes the hell out of him. He already has a whole movie where he is the undisputed MVP. And so I feel bad about, you know, giving him this moment over Megumi, who doesn't really have that. But we gotta be honest with ourselves right now, bro. Peak Megumi performance, assuming this was peak Megumi performance, this just wasn't impressive to me. It just didn't touch me like that. And so, yeah, I'm going to have to, let me fix the YouTube stream real quick. I'm going to have to, unfortunately, fix the YouTube stream. Whoops, wrong one. What the hell? Oh, no, that's right. Is it? No, that's wrong. Okay, I'm gonna have to give it to Yuta. I think that's what we're gonna do. Okay, I did that wrong too. Fuck. There we go. Let's see what the votes are saying, though. Right now, okay, it's kind of gotten closer to 50-50. You know what? It's tee-up time. This will be the one time. Let's start one more vote. Because I am interested to hear y'all opinion. 60 seconds to vote. This will be the most weight your vote has in this whole stream. Just putting that out there. 60 seconds to vote. 1 for Yuta, 2 for Megumi. Subs technically get double weight on votes, but that's a whole different mechanic that doesn't even matter right now. Okay, it's starting off pretty even, 50-50. I am very interested to see how this plays out. Okay, nope, Yuta's pulling away again. Yeah, Yuta's starting to pull away. And that's how I'm feeling. That's how I'm feeling as well. I can't even lie. I can't even lie. This basically lines up with how I'm feeling, right? 75% of me, 76% of me is saying go with Yuta. There's a cool little quarter of me saying go with Megumi. And so what I'm gonna have to do, I'm gonna have to go with Big Ta. I'm gonna have to go with JJK Jesus. Next round. All right, bro. We spent a lot of time talking. That previous round. I don't think we really got to talk that much. It's Helicopter Dome. Psych, that boy started. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we're giving it to Big Mock. Let's be serious right now. Next round. Dhruv versus Udo. Dhruv versus Udo. Again, let's be serious right now. We're going to have some more competitive rounds later, but for now, actually, this is a decently competitive round. Who are we saying between Bomb Guy and Big Chose, the dude who be throwing his blood around? Is this sanitary? I don't know. Bomb Guy or Choso? What are we saying here? What are we saying here? I mean, Choso had his moment. I naturally kind of forget about the beginning of season 3, right? My brain always wants to pick up where the culling game started. But nah, Choso, he low-key threw the season on his back the first, like, excuse me. He low-key threw the season on his back the first 2 episodes. I'm not gonna hold you. The Naoya fight, the little tag team with Yuji in the beginning. Yeah, this isn't as close as I think. I think I just have culling game bias. So yeah, I'm giving it to Is This Sanitary? Kenjaku versus Kirara. This is okay. Because we have someone who wasn't really on screen a lot, but was kind of omnipresent, versus someone who at least got a whole episode to themselves. He's setting the whole thing up for sure, but like, what did he do? He had like one scene. He's the reason this scene is a thing. Yeah, but what did he do in the season itself? I feel like I heard more talk about Kirara at least had an episode to her. You dig? Like, Kenjaku was there. He was omnipresent. He was the reason. He was the reason that any of this happened. But again, if I'm going through my memories thinking back on the episode, I'm not really thinking about Kenjaku like that. He had one scene. I'm sure he plays a bigger role come next season, come following seasons. And even though in canon he played a big role on the world, we just ain't seen shit from him yet. And honestly, if I'm keeping it a full stack right here, we all know Miss 8 Minutes of Curse Technique Exposition Kirara isn't getting far into the bracket anyway. I'm gonna throw her a bone, bruh. I'm gonna throw her a bone because I enjoyed her character. I enjoyed her curse technique. And I'm gonna throw her the bone, bro. I'm gonna throw her the bone. Both of them are getting smoked later in the bracket. I'm gonna give her a little bone real quick. I'm gonna throw her the bone. I don't think Kenjaku was there enough. We're picking off vibes. We've been picking off vibes this whole time, bruh. Like it's literally about, it's 100% about vibes. It's 100% about who do you MVP at this point in the bracket is 100% vibes. DP, don't get yourself banned, bruh. Don't get yourself banned, DP. All right. Let's see. I said she a male. Yeah, but you're being purposely provocative on an already sensitive issue. Like, come on, bro. Not cool. Reggie versus the Wix Haver. Again, this is an easy dub. I heard Kashimo. I heard Kashimo ends up doing some shit like later in the show. I know like a couple spoilers about him. He's pretty cracked, ain't he? He's pretty cracked, ain't he? But like, let's be for real right now. Nigga had like 37 seconds of screen time, bro. Like his biggest moment was just like, oh yeah, he's like, you know what I'm saying? Let's be for real right now. Mr. No Shoes, he had a good couple episodes, like low key. Reggie is up there in terms of screen time. Reggie is up there in terms of screen time when you really think about it. That nigga, I'm not gonna hold you, bro. Reggie had a very enjoyable curse technique to watch too. Like when I was getting these screenshots for these, when I was getting these screenshots for this bracket, you know, I was scrubbing through the episodes and I was like, oh yeah, he did some cool stuff. He did some cool stuff. Like I really like the scene where he did the wall, the rock climbing wall on the wall. So yeah, this is, I don't even know why I'm talking so much. We got a lot of rounds to go through. We're giving it to Mr. No Shoes. Okay, we got low-key the finest in the whole season. I won't be taking any arguments otherwise. Versus the MC the first MC that's a deuteragonist in his own shit. Just put the Yuji. I'm gonna put the Yuji in the bag, but I feel like, come on, bro. The question really comes down to, though, in this particular instance, the question really comes down to who's finer, bro. And as someone who's attracted to adult women, like, I'm gonna have to give it to her. That boy start finding any excuse to hoe Yuji. No, I'm playing. Yeah, obviously we gotta give it to who's Gojo. Yo, chill, I'm trolling, bro. Niggas start getting too tight. I'm trolling. Let's give it to Yuji. Mr. MC. I'm not gonna lie, Yuji did stand out more this season than he did in a lot of previous seasons. So I'm gonna give it to Yuji, yeah. Mr. Who's Gojo. Goodbye to low-key the finest in the season. Okay. We got a tough one. We gonna have to throw some dialogues in the air. We're gonna have to throw some dialogues in the air for this one. I know this is gonna hurt a lot of people's feelings. Okay, first of all, what the fuck is Jane Juliet, bruh? Niggas kept commenting that shit. What is the joke about Ishigori and Jane Juliet, bro? Like, I thought it was like it's a TikTok. Of course, it's a fucking TikTok meme. Of course. That's all I needed to know. Okay. It's a song used in his edits all the time. Okay. I should have known, bro. If you're in the YouTube stream, slide on over to the Twitch, by the way, so that you can vote on this. We're gonna have to open a vote for this. Bruh. 1 for Takaba. 2 for Ishigori. All right, and 1 for Takaba, 2 for Ishigori. Here's what I'm gonna say, right? If I'm going just off my personal preference, y'all know how I feel, bro. I don't even got to do it again, bro. If I'm going purely off personal preference, I'm picking Ishigori. However, Takaba, aka whose mans is this? He had his moments too. I feel like he had some of the more, like, I don't want to say goofy, but I feel like he had some of the more visually experimental moments of the season, right? Like this scene right here that's on the screen where he was bleeding for like dead ass. I think it was like a minute in canon? Like they actually wasted a minute of screen time to show him bleeding. It was pretty cool. Like, I like what they do with this character and how they play with his ability to kind of change the direction in the feel of the episodes themselves. 40 seconds? Yeah, it was 40 some seconds. However, if I'm keeping it a full stack right now, bro didn't really show me nothing that moved me. I didn't even find him to be that funny a lot of the times. Whereas young Unk over here, Ishigori moved me, bro. Like, even his whole metaphorical dessert thing, you know, I thought that was a bit like, okay, I didn't really care about that. Let's see what y'all are saying. Okay, yeah, y'all are going heavy on Ishigori. 1 for Takaba, 2 for Ishigori, by the way. But yeah, just the Ishigori gets that, like, honestly, we have to open a dialogue on episode 12, bro. Was it 12 or 13? Whichever the last episode was. We gotta open a dialogue on episode 12, because like 12 is just like an instantaneous boost, bro. Like there might, we low-key might have to implement an episode 12 tax, bro. Because everyone in that episode got maximum budget, but at the same time, like I feel like that's just luck of the draw. That's just luck of the draw. And I feel like, yeah, like we got a bunch of we got some great fights from Takaba. We got some amazing fight choreography from him. Not Takaba, my fault. Ishigori, rather. We got some amazing fights from Ishigori. Some amazing fight choreography from him. And I think he just had a bigger impact on me than Takaba did. I'm sorry. Takaba, it looks like they're setting up for something. It looks like they're setting up for something that'll pay off next season. And I can get behind that. I mean, we saw he linked up with Yuji now, right? So he's tapped in with the MCs, the 2-Man of Doom, whatever. But yeah, between these two, I'm gonna have to give it to Young Unk, bro. Okay. We got, this gotta be Battle of the Bums right here. I'm not gonna hold you. We got Snot Girl versus Panda. If you're in the YouTube stream, slide on over to the Twitch, by the way, so that you can actually vote. The link should be in chat for you to slide over. All right, listen. Remy was cool, you know, she was fine, whatever. But like, let's be so for real right now, bro. Let's be so for real right now. Honestly, is it insane to say that no way is Panda the MVP of this season, right? But is it insane to say that Panda's best moments were in this season? Seeing him react to Yaga, seeing him keep Yuji's spirits up. A Panda can cry. You know what I'm saying? Like, no way was he the MVP of the season, but he had his moments. And Lady Snot over here just didn't. Which is kind of sad. I kind of wanted her to do some cool shit, I'm not gonna hold you. Like something. I wanted her to do something. She didn't do anything. So like, yeah, like Panda had some standout moments. I'm giving it to him. Okay, we got Zenin versus Patch Notes Rika. Zenin versus Patch Notes Rika. What was Zenin real name again? Ranta or something? I mean, Ranta, you had a cool technique. Big eyes in the sky. I'm bleeding out my eyes. But like, come on, bro. Patch Notes was going crazy, bro. Patch Notes Rika had some pretty cool moments. Honestly, we got to give like at least 25-30% of Yuta's accumulated swag this season to Patch Notes Rika. Yeah, this is easy work right here. We giving it to Patch Notes. Yaga versus the backstory fodder. Now this, okay, this is low-key a little tough, I'm not gonna hold you. This low-key a little tough because the same way I said we have to dedicate some of Yuta's accumulated aura to Rika because of the role he played in, because of the role she played in boosting him to where he's at rather. I feel like you kind of got to say the same about Mai. I feel like you kind of got to say the same about Mai. In that sequence with Mai and Maki, you know, like on the beach in the past, doing their thing, destroy everything, destroy everything that might be line of the season. That might be line of the season. I'm not going to hold you. Honestly, this is kind of a good matchup, right? Because we have two characters that met their emotional, unfortunate demise here. But nah, Yaga had his line too. I give this curse to you. Come on, he was talking. And I really liked the sequence, the beginning of Yaga's episode where we got the flashback with Kusakabe and we saw how he used his ability to help Kusakabe's sister. I mean, we can get into the ethics of that later, but you know how he used his ability to help Kusakabe's sister cope with her depression from her lost son or something like that. But what it comes down to for me, because both of these characters, now that I think about it, sit in a very similar place in my mind when I think about what they did this season. But here's what I'm going to say, bro. Here's what I'm going to say. I needed more from Yaga. Just in general, the principle of Jujutsu High. I understand if that wasn't his character, he wasn't strong, whatever. But I needed more from him. Mai, it's like, okay, whatever. You know? With Mai, it's like, she never really had much to begin with. Let's keep it a stack. Her techniques always seemed kind of mid. And what am I trying to say? Here's what I'm trying to say. Let's say Mai and Yaga, both of their performances go up to here, right? Yaga climbed up to this point from like here. You know, he was cool. He had a strong technique. He was kind of gassed up, whatever. Mai climbed up to that point from here. Mai was like the bum of all bums and still managed to have a beautiful moment, an impactful moment with barely any characterization before that. Yaga, he kind of disappointed me, bro. Bro took off his shirt to fight and got bodied off screen just for that. And I know, like, you know, I'm not trying to be a power scale or whatever, but come on, that was, nah, I'm remembering Mai sacrificing her life to give Maki a sword, a super special grade Toji sword, more than I'm remembering Yaga like twerking with the old head, bro. I'm sorry. I'm gonna give it to Mai. Backstory fodder. Okay, we got Unk Zenin versus Kuroshi, the roach nigga. I mean, when you think, hold on. So look. My initial instinct is to give this to Roach nigga. Big Roach. All right, he jumped me like mid-episode. Y'all remember what happened, bro. My first instinct is to give this to him. However, I think now it's time that we start discussing an episode 12 tax. If you're in the YouTube stream, slide on over to the Twitch, by the way, so you can vote. I think it's now that we have to start discussing an episode 12 tax. Because look, when I'm thinking about episode 12 in 10 years, because that is going to be one of those episodes that I think sticks with me. That was a beautiful episode. But just listen to what I gotta say. When I think about that episode, I'm not really going to think about Kuroshi like that. I'm thinking Yuta, Ishigori, and Udo in that order. And then I might be like, oh yeah, there was that roach nigga too. I can't. I'm not taking the words of someone named the Roached one serious, bro. You're biased. You got Roach in your name. That's your homeboy. That's your brother and kin. However, when I think about Maki's arc, her episode, I'm gonna think of Ogi as an essential part of that narrative, of Maki's characterization of her evolution. The Roach, if we're being honest, played two roles: Yuta fodder and cock blocking us from that three-way domain. That's really all Roach did. He had some cool moments, you know, some cool animated moments. But at the end of the day, man, I'm not remembering this Roach like that. I'm sorry. So I'm a low-key give it to Dome Top, bro. I'm gonna give it to Unk. Okay. We got Yuki, Ghetto's Inspo, versus the buff Zenin. I'm gonna keep it a full stack right now, bro. Let's be so for real right now. Yeah, I mean, Yuki didn't even do much herself. But compared to a nigga who, did he get off screen? Like, he low-key got off screen, bro. Maki walked back with his dome piece. We didn't get to see much of anything. Yeah, we're giving it to Yuki. Yap God versus Naoya. I think I'm gonna give it to Naoya. I think I'm going to have to give that to Naoya. Again, it's hard to remember, like, back pre-culling games, right? The first 2 or 3 episodes of the season. But Naoya low-key was like the main villain of those first couple episodes, bro. We have to choose Tengen so we can lose to a woman. Nah, Yap God was talking too much too, bro. But Naoya had the internet in a choke. Yeah, that. What was it? The little attack he did? The hair? Yeah, no, I'm gonna have to give that to Naoya, honestly. Tengen was just exposition fodder. Let's give that to Naoya. Okay, it looks like we're in round 2. It looks like we are in round 2. Patch Notes Rika versus Higuruma. This is a bad matchup for Patch Notes Rika. I wanted her to get further in the thing, really, because I don't feel like she'd be getting her due credit, you know? But let's be for real, bro. Higuruma's going to plow his way through these first couple rounds. His episode was easily one of the most impactful. And I don't even see us having to open a dialogue on him until like the top 5. So yeah, we're giving that to Higuruma. Okay, it's time for the dialogue of doom. We're gonna have to turn off the music for this one, in fact. We're gonna have to turn off the music for this one. This shit about to get serious. This shit about to get serious. Domestic spat. These could be argued to be the 2 best episodes of the season. I mean, they were the 2 extended episodes, right? We have Big Mock versus her wife, JJK Jesus. Their episodes, respectively, were in the top 3 in my head. I don't see... First of all, we got to put up the vote for this one for sure. We got to put up the vote for this one. Let's put up the vote. 1 for Big Mock, 2 for JJK Jesus. 1 for Maki, 2 for Yuta for MVP of the season. Let's get back to it though. I want to start off talking about Yuta. All right. First of all, we have to appreciate that Yuta. We have to appreciate the volume of Yuta's presence on the season, right? He gave us some cool moments in the first 2 episodes, disappeared for a little bit, and then closed the season off with a bang. Maki, on the other hand, was the opposite, right? Had minimal presence on the season outside of her one individual ep. However, that one individual ep could easily be argued to be the most impactful episode of the season, if not the series. It could be argued to be the most impactful episode, I think, of Jujutsu Kaisen in general. In my personal opinion. And frankly, for me, what this comes down to, let's look at the vote. Interesting. We have 71% saying Yuta, 29% saying Maki. Again, 1 is Maki, 2 is Yuta. Let me tell you what this comes down to for me. Yuta's episode 12, I think was a amalgamation, right, of multiple different things. But one of the best parts of his episode were how the 3 Sendai colony boomers, or I guess Yuta isn't a boomer, how the 3 Sendai colony demons bounced off of one another, right? And this is why I didn't pick the roast that last time, because he didn't even register in my head just then. So I'm glad I didn't pick him. But when I think about Yuta, Ishigori, and Udo, you know what I mean? I almost think of them as like a package deal for that episode. Yeah, Yuta won. He had the biggest moments. Of course he did. He's JJK Jesus. You know, he's written to be like the best. But when I think about the appeal of that episode, I think about the 3 of them in tandem. I think about Udo's curse technique. I think about Ishigori's demeanor. And then, you know, of course, I think about like Yuta's hype aura moments, whatever. And all 3 of those things working in tandem to make a beautiful episode. When I think of Big Mock, on the other hand, I'm thinking Big Mock. Yeah, Mai helped out. Was a stepping stool. Yeah, like we said earlier, Ogi, he did his thing too. You know, he was the villain for the arc. But when I think about, like, because both of these episodes have like an impact for me animation wise, right? I'm going to remember the animation from both of them. I'd probably give JJK Jesus over here the slight edge if I was just going with pure visual quality of the fights. And it's not even because the animation was that much better, but I think it's just because, again, the vast array of curse techniques on display was a bit more entertaining to watch than, you know, Maki buff ass just punching everybody and slicing everybody's heads off. What's good, Zeno? However, I don't think Yuta put up, compared to Maki, I don't think Yuta put up most valuable player work this season. But no, because I think his best moments bounced off of other characters. You feel me? His moments in the beginning of the season, his best moments were impactful because of his contrast in strength with Yuji. His end of season impact was impactful because of that trifecta, right? The Sendai trifecta, him, Ishigori, and Udo all coming together to make a big spectacle. Whereas Big Mach, yeah, it may have been one episode, one little arc, but Big Mach put that whole shit on her back and carried it through to the end. I'm sure we'll see more from Yuta in the remainder of the series. We've already seen a lot from him in his movie. But for this right here, I'm gonna have to give it to Big Mach. Okay, this is interesting. So we have an actual fight from the show. We have a fight from the show. Choso is an interesting character, right? Because I feel like Choso, just in JJK as a whole, is like a sixth man, right? You think of the best JJK fights? Some of the best JJK fights? That boy Choso always kind of in the mix. He always not like, you know, he's not too far from the best fights. He might not be the center of every fight, but he'd be in the mix. He'd be there. I mean, he was the center of the Yuji fight. Like, low-key Choso, in and of himself, is like, I would say JJK's sixth man, you know? However, I hate to say it, bro, but Naoya, okay, you know how I said Maki put her episode on her back and carried that shit? I feel like that was, looking back, that was slightly false. Because Naoya took a little bit of the load too. I feel like Naoya kind of carried them first 2-3 episodes, even if he was, you know, the antagonist, the nigga we were supposed to hate. I gotta give it to him. I think I gotta give it to Naoya over Choso. Counter to how their fight ended up. So yeah. Udo or Panda? I mean, come on, let's be for real. Let's be for real. Golly, over Udo was too. Let me chill. I'm gonna give it to Udo. I think she had one of the most like entertaining curse techniques of the season. Udo, the baddest in the. Look, I give it to Shawty with the plain hair. I'm not gonna hold you, but that's not what we're talking about. Lock in. Yeah, this is low-key a Udo sweep. I'm not gonna hold you. But hey, Panda, he got pretty far too. I did enjoy watching Udo a lot more than I enjoyed watching Panda though. And so that's what this comes down to here for me. Okay, Battle of the Blondes. Now look, there's a lot of you horn dog ass niggas in the chat that are going to be very disappointed about what we have to do here, but we got to keep it a stack. We got to keep it $1. Reggie just had more presence in the season than Yuki. I mean, yeah, he kind of, you know, he bounced off Megumi real well. Pause. Yo. Low key, I really liked Reggie as sort of that trope where you have kind of a shitty-ish technique, but you're strong based off how you use it. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like if I had Reggie's technique, I wouldn't have thought of half the shit he thought of, right? Like, you know, the hotel, the having the car like drive out of Megumi's domain to save him. You know, I feel like Reggie impressed me by just how strong he was able to be with a technique that wasn't inherently strong, or at least as inherently strong as, you know, 10 shadows or bending the sky, or, you know what I'm saying, creating a super cannon out of your hair. Where did bro get a whole house from? He had like the house deed or something, right? It's strong if utilized properly for sure, but there are some techniques that are just strong. You know what I mean? There are some JJK techniques that are just strong. It don't matter if you suck with that shit or if you nice with it. Yeah, they're just strong. Or like Reggie took, I would say, like a upper mid technique and was able to compete with Megumi, who has an upper high technique. You know? And perhaps that's more of, you know, perhaps that's more of a a commentary on Megumi and his potential man antics rather. But yeah, I'm giving that to Reggie. Giving that to Reggie. Okay, Maya, you got far. Arguably further than you should have, but it's time we be for real right now. It's time we be for real right now. It's time for the backstory fodder to go back to being backstory fodder. I think, yeah, now is your time to die and tell Maki to destroy everything, because that's the best. Now that Megumi, because Megumi also had a decent chance of getting pretty far in this bracket. Now that Megumi it got smoked in the beginning, I guess you could say he had the potential to get far. But now that Megumi got smoked in the beginning, your sister's probably your only hope of seeing your last name at the top of this list. So, yeah, we don't even got to really open the dialogue here. We're giving it to Yuji. Wow, another domestic dispute. Okay. That boy Hakari trying to make a happy face too. I'm sorry, I gotta knock you off the list right here, babe. But like, come on, bruh. Hakari did more by throwing an empty Hennessy bottle at Yuji's cranium, at Yuji's noggin, than Kirara did in her whole fight, which, you know, was less of a fight and more of everyone sitting there like, I wonder how her technique works. Mind you, Hakari ain't even do much besides put pain to Yuji's noggin, whether that was with an alcohol bottle or headbutting him or punching him. But I still got to give it to him over his girl. I expect big things from him come next season. And once again, it's about time for another Zenin to fall off the list. Again, through trickle down from Maki's arc, Ogi managed to find himself in the second round. But let's be so for real right now. We're giving it to young Unk over old Unk. For the same reasons I discussed last time we talked about him. Amazing fights. Probably the best choreography in the season. Just can't say the same about Mr. Dome Top over here. Yeah, we're giving it to young Unk. We're giving it to young Unk. Okay. We are in the quarterfinals now. I think there's 8 characters left. Young Unk just got out of the squabble. It's time to... Yo, we got the roast one. Nigga, are you Kuroshi, bro? We got Kuroshi in the chat, bro. What's going on, Kuroshi? Yeah, you got smoked round one. Round one, it had to be that way, bro. So remember how earlier I was giving points because, jokingly giving points because, you know, I'm attracted to women. Okay, jokes aside though. Jokes aside. Here's what's going through my head, right? In terms of, you know, the memorability of these respective characters. First of all, I'm thinking about Udo's technique, right? Udo's technique was probably one of the most memorable in the whole season, in my opinion. Maybe the whole show. Still don't fully get how it worked. Honestly, I don't even know if she got how it worked, but being able to grab and manipulate the sky like that was very interesting. She also had the whole oppression-based trauma. You're right. She did have, I think, a more... Okay, no. This is what's weird. Bro. And low-key, we gotta open the dialogue on Mappa, right? Because think about this. I feel like Udo, by far, was the more compelling character backstory-wise. However, where Ishigori's relatively vain backstory, just kind of like hedonism, wanting more, where Ishigori's relatively vain backstory was given like, cutaways and little like flash in the screens, right? Remember when they were fighting, they punched each other and cupcakes appeared in the sky and stuff? It's like, I feel like Udo got hoed, right? Because she had a backstory that I would actually want to see dug into, that I would want to see cutaways of, that I would actually want to see and understand what she went through to get her to this point. But instead, they gave her 2 black screens with white text, 3 black screens with white text, while Ishigori got all the cool visuals and tie-ins and so on and so forth, which I find to be a really strange choice, honestly. Like, I don't know if they did the same thing in the manga, but they kind of did like the opposite of show don't tell, right? They literally told us, bro. They made the screen go black for 3 seconds and gave us three sentences. I don't even think, were they from her perspective? They may have been like 3 sentences from a narrator perspective, bro, or something like that. It was pretty, that was probably the worst part of that episode, if I'm being honest. And I feel like if we actually got to dig into that backstory, even a little 5 minutes, you know what I'm saying? See her interaction with the Fujiwara clan, I would honestly give this to her. I would. Despite Ishigori's choreography, despite, his fights, all the cool shit that he did, I would have given this to her. And then she get extra points for being bad on top of that. Yeah, I would have given that to her. However, that's fan fiction. That's headcanon. We got what we got, which was jack shit for her. Where with young Unk over here, Udo, we got something. Little dessert cutaways, little pictures of cake and cookies and, brownies and shit. And so just because we got a little bit more from young Unk on screen, I gotta give it to him. But I say this is low-key a Mickey Mouse victory, bro. This is low-key a Mickey Mouse victory, and this is not to the fault of Udo as a character. I think this is more so reflective of just the lack of what we got from her when we could have got so much more. You know what I mean? Like, ironically enough, right? This was the character about desiring more, and then Udo's character left more to be desired. So yeah, I'm gonna give it to Ishigori. Ooh, okay, yeah, so these are getting tough. Another Battle of the Blondes, that's true. I want to say Hakari. Because I think overall he's the more interesting character with more potential. Saying that word in anything JJK related is always hilarious. I truly do want to say Hakari. But again, I feel like that's fan fiction, bro. I feel like that's fan fiction. Like, yeah, Hakari had his moments. And I loved the moment where he threw the bottle at Yuji's head. That whole exchange right there. I think it was rotoscoped or something. I don't remember, but I love that. That was one of my favorite moments of the whole season. But Reggie low-key did his big one this season. And he left more of an impact, at least for me, on my mind. He left more of an impact than Hakari did. Yeah, we don't really have nothing tangible for Hakari yet. Again, I think Hakari's character, here's what I see here, right? Through Reggie, we see like a full development cycle, right? We understood his character, they built him up, we saw his peak, and we saw his demise. With Hakari, I feel like this whole season was just build up for him. We didn't see his peak, we don't see his demise or success. You know what I mean? It's just the beginning. And so I can't in good faith say that he played a bigger role on the season than Reggie, Mr. No Shoes himself. So I'm gonna give it to Mr. No Shoes. Ooh, okay. This is a tough one. Another canon battle. Let me take off the headphones for this one. I gotta Ooh, okay, we getting into it now. There really is no giveaway rounds no more. First off, I think it's worth pointing out that regardless of who we decide wins this round, this shit is finals material. I'm saying. I think it's worth pointing out, regardless of who we decide wins this round, these two characters and their performances in this season are inextricably linked. You know? They are essential roles to the other respective characters' development. You know what I mean? They kind of closed out each other's arcs in terms of Yuji, moving past Shibuya, and Higuruma moving past, his case, his failed case. They are foils of each other. Yeah, they were set up that way. But I think what this comes down to for me is the way these two narratives were shown, right? Yuji's is this long ongoing narrative that kind of spans over multiple seasons and we're still in the thick of. Where it's like Higuruma, that episode, man. That episode where they did the whole first half just being a normal slice of life lawyer episode. That was something different, bro. That's like a all-time list episode in my head. You know what I mean? We were having the discussions about generational the other day, and how people put generational on things too easily these days. If I had to, there's a good couple episodes from this season that may be considered generational. And I think Higuruma is one of them. And again, when I look at Higuruma, right, we get a full arc in those two episodes. We understand his backstory. We see the conflict with Yuji. And we see the conclusion. And I feel like, broadly speaking, even though these two characters were foils and did a lot for each other, I think in this particular season, for these particular characters, Yuji was more of a vehicle for Higuruma's story than Higuruma was for Yuji's story. You know what I mean? And again, at the end of the day, for me, it's coming down to vibes, right? When my child goes, "Daddy, do you remember JJK season 3 from 2026? The year's 2052, bro. I'm super Unk. I get a flashback, right? And then I fall asleep because I'm like 49 years old. 59. And then I wake up, right? I just had a dream about Higuruma. I think Higuruma in general, that episode, that and the Maki episode really stick out for me more than anything Yuji did individually. Again, you know, Yuji kind of gets the MC boost. He's kind of sparsely sprinkled into every possible crevice of the season due to him being, you know, the eyes through which we view this world. But yeah, I'm giving that to Higuruma. Is this an open and shut? Is this an open and shut discussion? She damn near about to reach through the screen and grab that knife out of his hand. Another canon matchup, you dig? Low-key, this is a similar, very similar to the last one. But like, come on, bruh. Let's. Where's the screenshot at? Hold on. This is all I really need to show for this dialogue right here. Where my screenshot at? Give me a sec. Okay, now all of a sudden I'm having a hard time finding it. But here we go. Come on, bruh. Any argument that could be made for Naoya here, which honestly I think a couple arguments can be made for Naoya here. Maybe. You know, he had his little meme go viral, whatever. But any argument that could be made for him here gets insta-canceled by this screenshot right here. I don't think any further dialogue needs to be open, to be honest. So, yeah, we're giving it to Big Mock. And is this the end of the round? Okay, the semifinals. We're closing out here. Young Unk versus the Cash Register. It's so interesting, like, doing things in a bracket, right? Because these are both characters that could have been kicked off the list at some point during this discussion. But just based off their respective matchups, they both happen to make it to damn near the end. Here's what I'm going to say. Reggie did have more screen time. He did more. We saw him do more, right? But to me, this almost is like a rehashing of the discussion we had in the beginning where we talked about Yuta versus Megumi. The arguments I make are going to be damn near the same because they come from the same fights, right? Yeah, Megumi had, you know, all this screen time, all these moments, you know what I mean? And it was cool. And I can say the same for Reggie, the person who was fighting against him, rather. But, and I think Chrono is kind of getting at what I'm about to say here. Ishigori, you know, he was there for a singular episode. But I think in that singular episode, similar to how what I said about Yuta compared to Megumi, in that singular episode, he left more of an impact on me than Reggie did in his 2, 3, 4 episodes. That's kind of what it comes down to me. It's damn near, probably because they're the other sides of the fight, right? But it's damn near the verbatim of the Megumi versus Ishigori discussion. Just, their opponents this time. So yeah, low-key, I think I'm advancing Ishigori to the finals. And now we have the Dialogue of Doom. Okay, so first I want to start the vote. Start vote. 400. Neutral. All right, we're going one for Higuruma, 25 to life. 2 for Big Mock. So these are the 2 most impactful episodes of the season. Easily. The Yuta ep was cool. But it doesn't touch these episodes narratively. The Yuta ep was like no hate, but that shit was like a solo leveling ep, bro. Like, it was great to watch, but it didn't really give me nothing to bring home with me, I didn't find myself thinking about it after watching it. I was just like, that was really cool. These 2 episodes, on the other hand, are the opposite. They had very similar appeals, very similar storytelling styles too, and the fact that they kind of told their own little short stories over the course of 1, maybe 2 episodes. Higuruma has recency bias? Maybe slightly. I liked both of the directions of these episodes. They were both very... They took risks, I feel, with the directions of these episodes. In the sense that, they kind of slowed it down. They were a bit more abstract with the storytelling. And for me, I love weird abstract stuff, right? I love Maki. All right, I loved her episode. I think the stretch on the beach was, again, one of my favorite parts of the season. It had stronger directing and storytelling. I could see that. No. I think they try to do different things. One, we had a visualization of, like death. And then the other, we got a slice of life episode that devolved into a JJK ep, or a normal Jujutsu Kaisen sorcery fight. But here's for me, here is why I am about to pick Higuruma. Because I'm sexy. That boy started turning to Naoya at the last moment. No, but dead ass though. Here's why I prefer the Higuruma ep. And I think this is maybe the only weakness, quote unquote, with Maki's arc. Is that when I think about JJK and the things that appeal to me most, well, let me start by saying this. Both their episodes were structured pretty similarly. They both went for a more abstract experimental appeal. And I appreciated that. And so if I'm just looking at like episode quality, boom, like Higuruma episode, Maki episode, I'm saying those 2 are equal. I honestly cannot pick. And so here's what it comes down to for me. One of the main appeals for JJK for me is the system of like cursed energy and how that plays into different characters' characterization, right? I feel horrible, bro, because I'm basically I'm hoeing Maki for not having cursed energy, bro. Nigga turned to Teddy Zenin, but hear me out. Hear me out. The way that Higuruma's domain ties in thematically, not only with his character, but with like JJK as a whole, I feel that Higuruma's ability, his domain, is like the pinnacle of Jujutsu Kaisen's writing. Jujutsu Kaisen's writing, you know, narratively, it's very good, pretty good, you know, like compared to the broad range of manga, it's very good, but compared to, you know, it could be better. But narratively, it's strong. But where I think it's strongest is the way it writes its abilities. Gege Akutami knows how to write a damn power system, bro. You could tell he's a power system nerd. And even though Maki not having cursed energy, I just saw someone say that, even though that's 100% a strong, like, you know what I mean? Even though that's 100% thematically relevant, it only works because of the contrast with the rest of the universe, right? Whereas like Higuruma, his ability through and through, just in how it ties into his character is I think what I'm trying to say is Higuruma for me represents all the high points of JJK. The hype, the aura, the squabbles, the character design, and then you look at his ability, it represents the peak of that too for me, right? Whether it's Executioner's Sword, whether it's how it ties into his character, whether it's the concept of this judge man Shikigami that's based on the Japanese legal system, even though it's fighting, it's like, yo, there's so many facets to this ability that all are just kind of cool to me, that are just shonen as fuck that I love. Where it's like Maki on the other hand, the hype, the aura, the whatever, the moments, blah, blah, blah. She got all that. But that extra point where Higuruma gets the ability, Maki has punches, kicks, and a sword. like in a terribly ironic way, she is once again getting hoed for no cursed energy. But it's like, what can you say, bro? What can you say? Oh wow, that was close. That was close. Higuruma barely takes it, 53-47. And that's how I'm feeling as well, honestly. That's how I'm feeling as well. And then, like, okay, let's be for real. Ishigori done cheesed his way to the finals, bro. Which, like, I respect it, bro. I love Ishigori. I loved his, you know, he was cool to watch. But, like, let's be for real right now before we finish, right? We can name, like, at least 4 or 5 characters that should be in these finals over him, that he just got the luck of the draw getting here, right? Like, I would say Megumi belongs here over him. I would say Maki belongs here over him. I would say Yuta belongs here over him. Part of me is now starting to go back and rethink my choices with Uro and Reggie, but now I'm gonna stand on them. I'm gonna say, shit, even Yuji could be over. Yeah, Yuji can be put over him. I think those, like, I would say Higuruma, Maki, Yuta, Megumi, Yuji are like probably the top 5. But yeah, the way things worked out, again, in a very Culling Games JJK-esque manner. I like how this discussion is starting to mirror like the show itself and the themes about like, hey, sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you get cursed energy, sometimes you don't, whatever. In a very JJK-esque manner, Ishigori was able to kind of, like, you know, the luck of the draw in his relatively easy matchups in the early rounds got him to this point where he's up against the character where there's really no discussion about who was the MVP of the season. And so, yeah, I think I'm going to give it to Higuruma. Higuruma won.